What's up, everybody? It is Frey. This is the first episode of Art Talk Live, where we talk to different indie artists and get their perspective on the indie scene. So today we have my best friend, my business partner. He's a very motivational person, Tanner Geesey. How are you, buddy?
Hello, best friend. I am doing well.
I shouldn't have said it. Oh
You
God,
said it, not me.
I did say it.
I mean, this isn't my podcast, so.
That is true. But yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey from because you've been doing content creating for a while now. So why don't you tell us your journey, what started you there, and where you're going right now?
So it's truly a tale of life. When I was a kid, I really liked stories and drawing a lot. I would come up with my own comic books, and I was really inspired by cartoons and all sorts of stuff. And I wanted to tell stories. And over the years, I would draw, make many characters, have many stories. But somewhere along the line after high school, I kind of lost that spark. And uh, yeah, it was a gloomy season in life for me. I went around with little to no purpose, feeling kind of like I wasn't here. And I would say around 2020 is when I really started to rediscover the spark. And it came more into focus that I really needed to just start creating again, I had all these stories. I needed an outlet for it. And while I might not be drawing as much right now, I also wanted to be a YouTuber as a kid. So I'm like, you know what? I'll start with a YouTube channel. I'll do content creation. It's something I've always wanted to do.
Mm.
And I created Tanner's Tales Entertainment and started with skit videos. I was very inspired by early YouTubers like Smosh and Julian Smith and a lot of like the golden age YouTuber. I would call them the golden age, I guess. Yeah, so I always had wanted to make skits like that. So I started with a bunch of random skits. And the first thing I did was I told a true story about how I sat on a pencil. And that turned into a whole character of his own. And that's kind of now what Tanner's Tales Entertainment is most known for.
Right.
Um, Spoiler alert, I have a comic book now, uh,
Yes.
drawn
Yes.
by that amazing artist right there. But it was like a journey to rediscover that creativity for me. And when I started to create content, it kind of got me more inspired to rediscover the other passions that I have that I lost seemingly through life, like through different circumstances. And now I want to create more stories. Like it went from YouTube. Now I'm not really on YouTube as much. I need to start reviving the channel,
Mhm.
but I am shifting focus to writing the comic book and trying to bring other stories and other projects to life, but very much back in the creative spark, I would say.
Ah, yeah, man. That's really good. Um, we've known each other for like what,
2 years,
3 years now?
about three. Yeah. When
Three,
I met
yeah.
you at the first Natsukashi Con, which wasn't really even named
Yeah.
at
One
the
thing
Harrisburg
that
Mall.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, I just said that was at the Harrisburg Mall back
Yeah.
before Natsukashi Con was
Yeah, that
named.
mall.
I didn't buy any of his stuff.
But it's okay. It's okay. You became a fan and we became good friends. One thing I've always admired about you is you're very like positive, like sometimes to a degree that bothers me, but it's always nice to have that refreshing positive energy because you actually remind me of myself a lot when I first started when I was younger. And I would have that like anything's possible, and you know, I just had that youthful energy to go out there and do stuff. And it's like now going to my 40s, I find myself like losing that feeling sometimes. So it's
Don't
like,
lose it, Bray.
yeah.
Don't lose
So
it.
it's right. So it's people like you in my life, and there's a couple others, but y'all keep that fighting energy in me, and it continues to make me grow. So I really appreciate that. How do you like keep that energy going?
Oh man. like I said, I lost it for a time after high school because I used to always kind of have this attitude like anything's possible. And I'd always be met with, no, it's not. Stop thinking like that. And
Mm-hmm.
eventually it did kind of overcrowd me for a time. And I don't know, it was like a journey of self-discovery over time. I feel like there was definitely outside influences. I can't really explain it. It was like a supernatural thing just kind of happened to me and
Mm-hmm.
started to revive me, started to get me to think about my self-worth in a way and restructure the way that I've seen myself. Because a lot of the discouragement I feel like comes from me not being able to love myself or believe in myself. And
Right.
so when I started to believe that I was worth it, when it took years, like from the 2017 is when I started to regain the spark slowly.
Mm-hmm.
It was a slow but steady pace where I was like, one thing led to another. I started to kind of give myself a chance, started to rediscover the things that I was always passionate about. Started to be like, well, they might say it's stupid, but you know what? It's something that I want to do. And if it's something I want to do, then it's worth trying.
Right.
Kind of started to rekindle the fire until now it's at the point where it's like, I want to help other people rediscover this because holy cow,
Mm-hmm.
what was I doing? Letting myself go into that dull place. It's like, this is where life is. This is like the pure energy of life, and it's going to be what changes the world. And if you can encourage other people and share the spark with them, then who knows what can happen. So,
Yeah. Yeah, man.
yeah, that's kind of how I rediscovered it. And now it's kind of why I'm passionate about it too.
So you kind of like woke up one day and you were kind of you had like your effort moment. I think everybody you're like, you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and do it, and I really don't care what people think. I'm just gonna put it out there. And I had that moment too where I was just like, you know what? I'm lost and I don't care. I'm just gonna throw it out there, and if it sticks, it sticks. And then it's like, don't you feel like mm, I would say like you have like a aha moment where it's like people are like they respond well to your things. Like, and you're like, why was it taking me so long to get here? Do you feel that way sometimes?
Oh yeah. Like I was so nervous when I started this. And then when I started putting it out there, like when I came up with the idea for number two pencil man, which was like kind of not my idea, but kind of my idea, kind of just all fell together.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that's so weird and out there. And I remember dressing up as him for like the first time outside of the YouTube because it's like, you know what? This would be a good promotion for the YouTube channel. And I
Right.
just remember being so nervous, I almost talked myself out of it. But Katie, my wife, is very supportive. And she's like, no, I think you need to do this. And I'm like, you know what? I do need to do this. And
Right.
I put on the costume and it was just like everybody loved it. It was weird. And then I'm like, you know what? Let's see how this goes. And I would continue to create more things. And everybody's now at this point where I'm at currently.
Right.
They're telling me they'll pick up the book. I haven't received any negative feedback from number two pencil man. I feel like the
Mm-hmm.
people who are into it, they come over, they love it, and the people who aren't, they just don't even come over. And it's very
Right.
interesting to me. And I'm getting more support than I am like hate or
Yeah.
trolls. Well, I'm still getting the trolls.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I get a lot of trolls on like TikTok and other social medias,
Mm-hmm.
but for the most part, like putting myself out there, putting the creations out there has been overwhelmingly positive, and it's only opened up so many more opportunities because now
Mm-hmm.
I might be getting a gig with a Lancaster library system here in Pennsylvania where I get to do workshops for kids as number two pencil man. And there's like so many other doors that are just starting to kind of like open up. And it's just because I took that chance and I actually was like, you know what, I'm going to create.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. That's cool. So for like the trolls, how do you like mentally deal with that? Because there's a lot of people that like we live in a time right now where the younger generation come up, they kind of have like more, I would say more anxiety, and like they lack confidence to get themselves out there. And one major reason is because they are fearful of being judged like that. So, how do you mentally get yourself to stay positive and continue to push forward?
So that's been a big mindset thing for me. And recently, I've been watching a lot of videos. There's a guy that I like. His name is like Julian Blanc, and he's like a transformation coach. And I liked what he said in a recent video that I've watched of him. He's like, judgment comes with the territory.
Mhm.
People, when they step out into their authenticity, like authentic self, it's going to welcome judgment, but it's not
Right,
all negative judgment. It's
right.
positive and negative. You can't just get out there, be like, oh, I want people to like me, but I also don't want people to like know me. It's kind of like you're putting yourself out there. It's going to happen.
Hmm.
And, I just have figured out a way to not take it, I guess, as personal. A lot of the troll comments I get are just like, I don't know. They're not like personal attacks. I don't
Right.
view them as such. They might be trying to, but for me, it's just like my mindset's like, they're just going to do this. Like, I don't know. They got nothing better to do, I guess.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm just gonna keep doing it because I know deep down in myself, like, and it takes time to build this kind of confidence too. Like, I understand, I can relate with a lot of people in this generation who aren't as confident in themselves. They feel like super scared to do it. They
Hmm.
would take offense to it. I would at one time, I would have. It was like I said, the journey, step by step, believing in myself, taking the chance on myself, and being like, they don't have to understand. I feel
Right.
like the people who need to understand, they'll be the ones that are attracted to what I'm doing.
Hmm.
And the ones that aren't, they can say whatever they want. But I feel like it's more worthwhile to appeal to the people who are going to love it than to just not do it at all and not even have a chance to impact anybody.
Right.
So,
That
yeah,
makes
it's like a
sense. Yeah.
mind shifting game.
Yeah, man. That's really good. So it's kind of like, yeah, you do have to kind of just accept it, right? Like you can't please everybody 100% of the time. So you find your niche, the people that like your stuff, and you just cater towards them. Like you're not going to please everybody, right? Yeah, that's good.
It's a losing battle if you're trying to please everybody.
Exactly.
It's almost like you're trying to cut off a part of yourself to fit into everything, and you're really not getting to be yourself. And
Hmm.
I feel like the essence of life is really to be ourselves. And like, if we're going to create something, and we need to be fully ourselves to have the best impact. So
Right.
whoever's going to love it's going to love it. Whoever doesn't, they don't really matter. Well, I mean, everybody matters. We're going to
Yeah.
say that. But I mean, like, it's nothing against you, and it's like it's not going to stop you
Right.
if somebody doesn't like it, as long as you don't let it stop you. If you keep pushing through,
Hmm.
then you're going to keep going. And no matter what the haters and the trolls say, I think that actually sends even a greater message to them and still impacts those people because they can over time see like what they're trying to do isn't affecting you. And you're like, ha, I'm doing this still. And then who knows, maybe their perspective of you will change. But even if it doesn't, it's more about them. Like, it says more about them than it does you. So definitely, you're worth pursuing what you want to pursue.
Exactly. Yeah. Well said. Yeah, definitely. So your main staple, which has blown up, is Pencil Man. What made you make a story off of that experience compared to any other experience that you've had in your past? Hey, what's up, everybody? Thanks for watching the video so far. Before I let you get back into it, just wanted to let you know, freyfisher.com, I got books that I've created, I've got games that I've made, and I would appreciate you going over there and checking it out when you get a chance. Maybe buy yourself something. Yes. So, freyfisher.com. All right, now let's get back to the interview.
Well, it's interesting because, like I said, it kind of all just came together for me. And when I started the YouTube, I wanted to tell the story of the time I sat on a pencil. I thought it's a funny, entertaining story.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Looking back at the video, though, it's a little cringe. I'm just standing there telling a story.
They're
I've
the
learned a
best
lot
kind.
since then. If I was to go back and redo it, I would do a little bit more. But I think how I brought the idea in was like, I want to add spice. And
Mhm.
I started looking on Amazon for a costume, found a pencil costume, like, hold on, superhero origin story. And when I did that, at the time, I just thought it was going to be a one and done
Right.
until I started wearing it out to different conventions. And then people were like, this is great. Do you have a backstory? And then it got me to think. But unlike other stories in the past, I didn't have to think too hard about this one. I just like, I started to get the idea for the origin story. I started to get the idea for how he discovers his superpowers, what his superpowers were. And it
Mhm.
just kind of started to write itself. And even to this day, I don't have it all in writing, but I have so much of the story up in my mind. I know how it's going to end. I have like the beginning, the
Right.
first arc, I already have pretty much already written out in my head. I just got to finish writing down the paper. I'm working on issue 3 now. Uh,
Yeah.
but I know how it's going to end. It's like no other story that I ever had in my life. No other idea for a story has ever like just come together
Right.
quite like Number Two Pencil Man. And it's hard to explain. It's almost like it's partly me
Mhm.
creating this, but there's something else that's giving me these ideas. And I'm just like, all right, we're going to just keep rolling with this. And I don't know what it is, but yeah, it's just had so much of an impact on not only myself, but so many people. So yeah, that's how that kind of came about.
Yeah. It's cool seeing you go to different conventions and like people are like, "Oh, can I take a picture? Please stop, take a picture." And
It's
it's
so many
really
pictures at cons. It's
yeah.
still funny.
Yeah, it's cool though. It's like you found your brand and I think a lot of artists and creators in general, they like struggle with finding that thing that like even I do. Like I have my very official stuff, but it's like I don't have a strong identity. And I think it's also because I don't have merchandising. Maybe I should do merchandising. But
Merch is always a good option.
yes. But it's like you were able to find that brand and that character that is kind of like your staple for your company. And it's truly amazing how it just comes to you. And I think a lot of artists they try to they think so hard. They don't just let stuff come to them naturally. Like cuz you think all the time about different things throughout life. And it's like there's many people out there that have these incredible ideas and they just don't just like dive into it like you have done with like Pencil Man.
Yeah,
So,
I think there's definitely like a natural flow with creativity where
mhm.
it's partly us, but if we like open up to these ideas, like you have that gift for creative, like creating characters. You have so many characters, you draw them when they come to you, and I feel like there's a flow. When you follow the flow with creativity, it just continues to expound. You'll get the next piece as you keep going. And I feel like a lot of people who have trouble with that, maybe they're fighting multiple thoughts, like you said, like they're thinking about one thing or another thing, or maybe they're not confident in themselves. So they're like trying to think of all these ideas that aren't them. But when an idea is them, I feel like when it's partly in who they are, then if they just like lean into that and embrace it, then it starts to continue to open up. And as we follow that flow, I think there's a flow with everything in life. But I feel like with the creative journey, for me with Pencil Man, it was like it started with this, I want to tell this story.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, let's go a little bit more. And then I continued to open it up. And this was one of the most embarrassing stories I ever had. My parents don't let me live this story down to this day. They're like my dad drew in a notebook when it happened, my butt with a pencil in it, and I think it's still somewhere. But it was like they made fun of me for it for so
Right.
long, and it's just like, you know what? What if I stop running from this embarrassing moment? What if I just dive into it? What if I embrace this? And then it's
Yeah.
like opened up. Here's a character, and I'm like, a character, my first character. Well, you know what? This is good. I haven't thought about it like this. A lot
Mhm.
of times when I start talking, things just kind of come to me. He was the first character that I had from my hiatus as well, like my creative hiatus.
Mhm.
Because even though I was on a self discovery journey, I wasn't trying to create stories or characters or doing the stuff that I used to do as a kid. Pencil Man was the very first one when I came back to it. So I feel like there might be more significant. He was number one, but he's number two. Uh, but it's just like interesting because then the more I've just kind of embraced it, the more it's just opened up. And then I've had so many other stories, ideas since that I'm still trying to wrap my head around.
Right.
But it's just like it's a flow. I feel like I wish a lot of people are probably listening to this and they're like, I wish it was that easy. I'm like, it's hard to explain, but sometimes there are things that are easy like that. And
Hmm.
maybe it doesn't feel easy because you're still battling multiple things in yourself. But
Right.
when you like get to that point when you're not battling and you're actually working with yourself, like working alongside, embracing your ideas, embracing different situations, I feel like it does open up into so much more. So it could create such a natural flow of creativity for you.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. That's
Sorry, I
cool.
went on
Yeah.
a rant there.
No, no, no. It's great. It's great. It's actually great. Um, s- yeah, definitely. So, does that tie into like why you do motivational speeches with Pencil Man as well?
Yeah. So ever since I was a kid, like I told you a little bit earlier, I was always that like idealist dreamer. Like I had this idea that things could be better than everybody ever said they could.
Hmm.
And the only reason that they weren't was because everybody said they couldn't.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what if I shift that perspective? I wanted to be a motivational speaker since I was young because part of my self-discovery journey back in high school was I was losing a lot of weight. Unfortunately, I packed it back on now, being a dad and everything. It kind of doesn't help, but
Dad bod.
I got it. But in high school, I went through a transformation with weight loss. I did weightlifting and I was an Olympic weightlifter. So I didn't do like the powerlifting stuff as much, but I did more of like the snatch and clean and jerk, the stuff that you'd see in the Olympic Games.
Hmm.
And it shifted my perspective. Like a lot of people didn't think change was possible even then, but I feel like now more than ever, that's kind of how people think. Change isn't possible. I can't change. There's too many concretes. People are like, well, this can stop me or this will stop me. And it's like, no, there's so many things that you can do to overpower these. And it's just, you got to believe. And so even back in high school, people would tell me on the team all the time, like when I was there, I'd encourage everybody. And when I wasn't, they felt it. And it got me thinking back then, it would be cool to be a motivational speaker. Like I could help people overcome challenges in
Yeah.
their lives and like, I don't know, get them passionate about something. But
Hmm.
back then I lost it. Like I had to go through my own story where I lost it so I could understand it even better when I came back to it, like how important it is to keep that spark alive and help others to discover theirs. So it
Yeah.
definitely played a huge part, like coming back to it too. Like I felt it. Like I felt as dead as it can get when I was at my lowest low. It felt like I had nothing to look forward to. I was literally like, I got nothing on my own here. Like I felt like worthless at my lowest. And I
Yeah.
was like, how can anything ever come from who I am currently? And something did. And
Yeah.
like I said, I had to go on the journey to rediscover it. But that's what makes it so important. And I feel like as number two, Pencil Man represents that for me. The first character coming back to it, my passion reignited. The character is so symbolic to me. And I'm like, what better way to motivate people than to dress up as a giant pencil superhero
Hmm.
and give them pep talks? It's the pencil pep talks, baby. Uh,
Right. Now, how do you deal with, because I would say like your market is more for kids. How do you kind of think that you can connect with teenagers, older people, et cetera, et cetera?
so it's funny because the people who do buy my comic books, while I think the majority have been kids, I've had a good like age range
Mm,
all the way up to elderly people who have bought my comic book and they've come back and they've said how much they love it. I feel like while the comic book and the story might appeal to the youth, I
mm,
feel that the content that I create as number two pencil man that is being discovered by people is mostly consumed by teenagers and adults.
right.
So I feel like the motivational speeches are how I can connect to maybe the older audience. But I feel
Hmm.
like the story is also good for young, like all ages, because I've, like I said, I've had everybody read the story, like from all different age ranges. And my, I don't know, it's really interesting to me because I'm hoping that the story would be for all ages. I do realize I do have that
Yeah.
more target audience of kids, but I also feel like it's important to share that with kids so as they grow up, they might remember fondly the character, might still be inspired to create through it.
Hmm.
So it gives me that, but then the motivational speeches give me the impact on the adults because I get so many comments from the people who are fans that are like, I needed to hear this. We love you, number two pencil man. Thank you for. I had somebody comment on a birthday post saying, you're one of my favorite content creators since I found these apps. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm having an effect on everybody. So I can definitely live with that.
That's great, man. So now that because you've only been vending like at conventions for what, a couple months now?
Since October. Yeah.
Yeah, since October. So you've seen my video where I was like, don't listen to your helper. You were said helper.
Now listen
How
to
do
you.
you feel now, like putting your money into a company and you may not get those returns back? How does that make you feel currently? And how, and your experience, like, how do you feel actually going out to places and yeah, you want to keep that motivational spirit, but you also want to make sales so you can, make a living eventually off of this stuff.
Ah, yes. Okay. It took me a second there to realize because I'm not as familiar with all the like lingo for I guess what you'd call it. So you're talking about like going to conventions, taking the risk that I might not make my money, but I'm still
Keeping
there.
your positive energy and motivational spirits.
So this is where I focus more on people and my ideas over time. Like, so I have a weird idea about money and provision. It's kind of like the manifestation mantra stuff. It's like I know that if I'm out there and I'm giving myself into whatever I do, I will be recompensated one way or another, whether it's through the physical monetary money or something else happens. And it not everybody can get to that point. And I understand people will probably be like, that's crazy. How do I? It was a shift because I used to be anxious about money all the time. I
Yeah.
wanted just money, but I had to let go and realize that provision is more than just that. It could
Hmm.
take one good connection to change my life. So if I go into an event and I give my best, who's to say that my provision might come in the form of a connection later that sets me up more than anything else?
Right.
In that time, I might lose money, but later down the road, I could make millions potential. And I know that's like a weird way to think, maybe a little too idealistic for some, or optimistic, but I believe like there are laws to the universe. And as long as I am being true to myself and I'm doing what I'm truly passionate about, I feel like one way or another, I will be rewarded. It will come back to me somehow.
Right.
So while I want to make money at these events, I realize that interactions with people are what is really the most important. Because, like I said, I lost that spark of passion. I don't want other people, even if they can't afford something, like if I can speak something into somebody there, even if they just come up and they just interact with me. I've had plenty of these people. I know you hate these people that just come up and they'll read the comic, but I take that as an opportunity to talk to them. And then, like, I'll actually just start talking to them. They'll be like, oh, this is a cool. And I'm like, all right, yeah, I start to try to probe and ask them what they're passionate about. And I'll just kind of try to pull it out if I
Right.
can. I'll try to get them excited about it. Because if I can get them excited about it, I don't know. I feel like that is more important. So even
Right.
though I'm super passionate about what I'm doing, I want to sell all my comics, I want to make millions of dollars.
Yeah.
I feel like
Don't
for
we all?
me, it's remembering that there's something bigger at the end of the day. Like systems could fail. Like who's to say the banks couldn't just collapse one day and money's no longer important or something like that?
Right.
It's
Exactly.
crazy.
Yeah.
But in the case that that happens, if I was being true to myself, who's to say that the provision wouldn't come somewhere or somehow?
Got it.
And like I said, it took me years to get to that point. I
Hmm.
had friends that had told me stories that were living similar lives. And it's like, it takes a level of faith to kind of believe for that. But if you can stay true to that I find more oftentimes it's true than not. So it's crazy. But that's how I maintain like my positive attitude, even when I only make like one sale. I'll be like, I'm just happy to be here. I'm grateful to be doing something that not only do I love, but I have a chance to help others. So that's kind of how I do it.
That's good. Yeah. Um, we're almost out of time. I think I have 2 minutes left.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry.
No, you're good. No, it's really good motivational information. Um, what advice would you tell other indie creators who are thinking about getting themselves out there, but they still have that anxiety and fear of putting themselves out there?
It's worth it. That's the first thing that comes to mind. You're worth it.
Mm.
It's a way to love yourself. You know, I feel like a lot of people just don't. So be the person, be the exception, because there's got to be some people. Everybody wants to be small nowadays. Nobody wants to be noticed. Nobody, it's because the fear and everything else that tries to keep us down. But if you can rise above it, you
Mhm.
will find that you're going to really kind of like launch off. You're going to take off because it's easy to stand out in this culture. It's easy to put yourself out there if you just believe in it. So
Yeah,
do it. Take the risk. You're worth it. And if you don't think you're worth it, think again.
yeah. That's great, bud. All right, so tell us where everybody can find you and the stuff that you sell and all that stuff. Promote
Yes.
yourself.
So, number two pencil man, it's available on my website, www.tannersTalesEntertainment.com. Frey is the artist, so definitely check out his stuff as well because he does awesome stuff. You can find me on socials at Tanner's Tales Entertainment or number two pencil man because number two pencil man is like my motivational page, and Tanner's Tales Entertainment is where you're going to find all the business stuff and YouTube stuff.
All right. Awesome. Thank you very much, Tanner. We could talk forever, but we gotta wrap it up because
Oh yeah,
June is being a jerk. So,
check
but
out Frey.
but yeah,
Check
I'll
out Frey.
definitely have you on here again, and this will be up short sometime.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Look forward
Thank
to
you.
it.
See y'all later.